you have made the decision, the probably 30 or 40 minute decision, depending on how long this intro goes, to embrace an episode of Recapping with Cam. This is a show where I get to speak to whoever I feel like speaking to for that episode. And I also get to speak about whatever I speak about. And I'll always sound like an insolent child in the intro who's just been told you can't have a show where you speak to anyone. So that's how I start. If this is your first episode, that's how I start every episode. Argumentative, as if you've just told me what I can't do, and then I'm going, you know what? What I want more than anything is a premiseless podcast. I got my hair cut professionally today, which if you only listen to the audio version of this, you're probably like, okay, so did everybody once to twice a month, depending on how fast their hair grows. But for me, about a year ago, I started shaving my head, shaving it all off, and mostly doing it myself, although my friend Kizzy did it once or twice for me and made it look really good. Somehow added shading to the side of a bald head, which is impressive. She's also launched her own barber. It's called Kenneth Jeffries. If you're in Melbourne, definitely check it out. Kizzy is amazing at what she does. So I went to a different barber because I'm in Perth now. This barber was called like the Gentleman's Choice, which sounds seedy. And when you walked in, I had never been in there. I just booked it. I just looked on Google Maps to see what was open, and the Gentleman's Choice was open. So they got my service today. And everything, I think maybe just because it's been so long since I had a professional haircut, I've just been shaving it off with some clippers that I got off the internet myself. I've been cutting my own hair, cutting it all off maybe once or twice a week. So it felt weird being back in a barber, but they're like, what do you want? I was like, get rid of all of it. And then they did the whole cutthroat razor. They drop a towel on your head and then a cold towel after that, and then rub some liquids into the skull. And I'd forgotten what it was like to get that head massage that comes with a haircut. And I don't know if girls get this haircut, but I know that almost every time a dude gets a haircut at a sort of fancy place, the person will take you over to the sink and wet your head and then massage your head for a while longer than feels platonic. And does it feel good? Yeah. But do you feel a little bit weird because you're kind of intimate with this person? Mm-hmm. And today's one was weirder because I didn't know that bald people, that's what I am now, I didn't know we still got the massage. Felt a little suspicious. Like wondered about her motives. But anyway, I think maybe only, I don't know if girls get the massage. If you do, if you're a girl and I'm being ignorant, I'm sorry. Maybe we all get massages when we get a haircut. But it feels almost too good, to be honest. And so I was getting the massage just on my bare head, and she's pouring oils on it. And then she said, "Oh, that feels so good." My eyes were shut, so I think she knew I agreed. But I assume she meant the job she had done, getting rid of all the hair, like she likes smooth things. But also I was like, well, that's weird. And I didn't in the moment, I just reacted instinctively. I just said, "Yep." I don't know if I probably shouldn't have even answered. I think she was just admiring her own work. She wasn't like, "Thank you for, thank you for the effort your head is putting in beneath my fingertips." I think she was more like, "I've done a great job," and then I interrupted by being like, "Yep, you have." But yeah, it felt good to be back in a hairdresser. Like I think I'd forgotten that feeling. I'd been doing the work myself for so long. I'd stolen somebody's job for the last year, which was very selfish of me. But yeah, they definitely do a better job of. I've never massaged my own head, but they do a better job of cutting it right down as well. So thank you to the Gentleman's Resort or the Gentleman's Choice. I can't remember exactly which one it was. The Gentleman's something. Gentleman as a word has changed its meaning a lot over the years. I think 100 years ago, you'd take it at face value. You go, a gentleman has left a letter behind for you, ma'am. I think her response would be like, oh, and she'd picture a man in a suit who treated people equally. But now, if I hear the word gentleman, oh, I would assume he's been up to some things. And also, it's the sort of word that like a cop or a security guard uses to be belittling towards the gentleman. I can imagine like if you're at a public swimming pool and an announcement comes over, it's like, could the gentleman with the backwards hat and the Speedos stop filming the ladies in the pool? Like, gentleman now just means any dude. I think it now means a guy who's up to no good. The gentleman with the checkered past is more likely than the gentleman who's donated to charity recently and upholds equality. Yeah, gentleman. I think gentleman is a polite way of saying douchebag these days. But yep, that's my barber. The douchebag's decision, or the gentleman's decision. That's my hairdresser's name. On today's episode, I am catching up with, or I'm recapping on recent events with my friend Charlie.
Hey,
Here he is.
how you going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm all right, yeah.
Charlie. Oh, sorry, you go.
Sorry, what?
You go.
Oh, I was just looking for an ideal spot to have this chat, and I ended up in the Collingwood. Is it the training ground, the old one, Victoria Park Station?
I know the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Charging Stallion filmed our Eddie Maguire film clip there.
Ah, yeah, right.
Yeah. It's a scenic
I
spot.
I haven't seen that video, but I'll check it out now that I know that.
I know you're on 10% battery, but I'm going to show you that video right now because it's worth it. No.
Just drain it down to 5.
Yeah. What's going on, man? Welcome to the show. I think you're the first person on here who's done their interview from outdoors, so thank you.
Oh, good. There you go then. Yeah. And am I the first international expat as well?
I don't know if you count New Zealand, Kiwis, and Australia as international expats, but our accent.
Yeah, technically you are international.
Yeah, but I think that like notable international expat. That's how I'd introduce you.
Yeah. Well, I've probably travelled the furthest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's going on today, man? I know you've made some time. Sounds like a busy Sunday. What's happening?
Oh, well, so I've over lockdown. I'll give you the backstory to this first. During that lockdown period where we were sort of stood down from work. I'm not sure how it related to you with your work. I think
lost my job.
You were. Yeah. Okay. Well, I got stood down. I mean, as most people did from the government, and in that period of time, I was sort of exploring different sort of creative outlets to sort of kill time, or maybe just to build on more personal experience with things, and I try things new. And I decided to sign up to this this company called Mabel. It's like they offer support workers. They offer people with disabilities support workers that are sort of tailored to their sort of needs, you know. And I thought it'd be something that would be quite rewarding to me and help others, you know, in need, because especially during that time when there was, you know, a lot of people needing help with certain things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then I wasn't able to actually participate with that in that period, but I got it. I sort of, I guess, registered or whatever, somewhat qualified, even though like it didn't require too much in the sense of like doing anything too technical to get qualified. You know, there was a few sort of online multiple choice questions that I had to answer, and it's basically common sense questions. But anyway, I got registered now, and I've started to sort of see different people and clients and try and help people in different ways.
Yeah.
So I've done 2 jobs now, and I went to see another person today, and just to sort of get just to kind of like make an introduction and see how I might feel. I'm a bit sort of unsure about it though, because this is it's a lady who has 2 elderly parents. One's 95 and the other one's 97.
Yep.
And the 95-year-old, he's just come down, been diagnosed with Parkinson's or some sort of version of it, and he needs a lot more. He's become a lot more sort of dependent, and so she basically needs help with him to get around a bit and some companionship.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm just a bit worried that, you know, he's very fragile, and I don't want to, like, you know, cause any problems or make it worse for him, you know, or, you know, risk. Obviously there's lots of risks you can get from when you're sort of 95, probably.
Yeah.
It's okay, good innings, isn't it?
So you're kind of, that sounds like probably quite a normal feeling before going into something like that. You're like, oh no, hopefully I help this person and don't cause any issue.
Yeah. Don't like end their life too soon, even though they have already kind of like had a great life, probably.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Seems that way anyway.
Surely there's not too much you could do that would muck up, right?
Well, that's what my friend just told me. She said, you know, he's got Parkinson's and he's 95. If he dies, it's not your fault. It's kind of, it's probably just nature having its way, isn't it? Like, it's kind of, you know.
I mean, as long as you're careful, you can't be too reckless, I'd imagine. But as long as you're not skateboarding around his house and high-fiving him, as he drifts,
or doing hill bombs with him in his wheelchair.
Yeah, he's probably better that he's not doing that stuff with you. So if you knock that stuff on the head, then you should be sweet.
Yeah. But I did a really interesting thing right at the beginning of this when I got sort of registered. I got this random phone call from the people at the company, and they were wanting to do these this promotional video for their app to encourage others to sort of explore some more creative outlets in their life. And I suppose like they asked me because they noticed in my profile that I'd sort of expressed that I had an interest in art, and I kind of like got a lot more into it during the lockdown. Yeah. But I had sort of dabbled a little bit, like a bit previously, because I had a housemate at the time who was a keen artist, and we just kind of like bonded over that, and you know, try new things and whatever else. And so they picked up on that particularly, and they'd asked me if I wanted to partake in this promotional video with a client. And I was like, I just want to reiterate to you that I'm not a professional artist. So I'm just doing it as a hobby. I don't want to come across as I'm some sort of like amazing, you know, I've got a great style, or like I'm a world famous painter or something like that, because I'm really not. I just do it for fun, and it's like it's a hobby. But they were like, it's fine. We don't want someone who's got a lot of experience. It's more just about trying to encourage people who might think that they'd like to try it but haven't got the confidence to do it. And so it's like I guess maybe I'm the perfect person in a sense because I'm sort of new to it too, so I'm feeling my way around it as well.
Yeah, awesome.
But I ended up going down to this hotel room that they booked out with this client, and it turned out that their client was Dylan Alcott. Do you know who that is?
I'm not aware of them. No, who is he?
He's a Paralympian gold medalist,
Wow.
Australian tennis player, and also basketball player. He's also got a podcast which is really interesting. It's really cool. It's called Listen Able, which is worth checking out.
Yep.
And I think he's also does some he's a TV sort of personality as well, I think.
Yeah.
From what I understand. So we did it. I did it with him. It was quite cool. You know, he was really nice, and we had like maybe 20 or 30 minutes to paint this picture.
Yeah.
So I was a bit nervous about that. How
freehand,
that
or
did they give
you? Did they give you a subject to paint, or was it just whatever came into your mind?
It was like, so the style that I was like trying to sort of replicate is something that I just realized lately, that, you know, because I've got a few different paintings that I've worked on, and some of them have like characters in there, and some of them are just like slapping paint on and moving it around. Yeah. And I found that the paintings where I'd have to draw a character was a lot more stressful for me, because I'm not like a perfect artist at getting the shapes right, you know. So that but I like to sort of at least make it look like what it's meant to be. Whereas like putting the paint on and just moving around with a palette knife and just slapping it over, it sort of takes away the thought process, and you can just actually just like zone out on it, and it's quite therapeutic in a sense. You know, you can literally clear your mind and just get it and sort of create something at the same time. Yeah. So I tried to incorporate that style into it, which I thought is probably easier for people who may be a bit nervous about trying to paint, but they don't have the skills necessarily, but still want to have a go. Yeah. You know, that way anybody can do it. So I just sort of did that really, and I've seen a few different YouTube videos of certain artists like recreating like postmodernism like style paintings, like de Kooning and Jackson Pollock, sort of artists like that, where their style is all about just kind of like bright colors and sort of being just like, and not really thinking too much about the process. But just as an outlet. Visual art is a world that I'm pretty unfamiliar, a bit out of my depth on. Like, all I know is basically Batman and Watchmen. I'm more from visual artists. I only know like comic book artists, but that sounds exciting, and it sounds rewarding as well. Is it something that you feel like you'll be able to carry on with now? Does it feel like it's going to become part of your life? Yeah, well, I mean, my intention was and is to kind of like, you know, you get stuck into a sort of a routine with work, don't you? Where like day in, day out, it feels like it's a Groundhog Day. You know, you sort of wake up at the same time, you go the same route to work, you do the same hours, you go home, and it's like the next day starts again, and it's like it can get a bit monotonous. Every now and again I get down about it, and I just need to like try and invigorate some sort of change and refresh a bit. And I think this is something that I'd like to sort of build on, and maybe hopefully trade some hours with my other job and build this into it, so that I have a bit of a sort of variation to my routine a bit more, you know, like I think it's important to have that, you know, just for mental health issues, and just to generally, and it's nice to like meet new people and get about a bit more, and just, you know, and it might even spur some like more enjoyment in your other job too, because now you're doing it less frequently, and when you do it, maybe you're sort of invigorated more for it too, you know. Yeah, I love that. And how are you going work-wise now? Did you get your other work back, and are you doing all right with employment stuff? Yeah, I've been back at work now for maybe like 3 months or so. Like as soon as they relaxed like relaxed again. I think it was like mid-September. I've been back at work full time since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of taking its toll now a bit, I think.
Yeah, as in your
as just like I'm getting to that. I'm going for those sort of feelings again of just wanting change and change in environment and change of things going on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
So I think. Oh, go on. Sorry, we've got a bit of a delay.
Yeah. Has it felt like much of a difference since restrictions lifted, lifted slightly for you, or are you still feeling like that is sort of like a looming thing in the background?
Sorry, what do you mean? Sorry.
So when Melbourne's restrictions lifted in the last month or so, did that help with how you're feeling generally, or?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, being able to get out about it again and sort of see friends and go to the pub is so important, isn't it? Just socializing. It was like being locked away. I was luckily I had a bit of a sort of a toxic household relationship before, like just after the first lockdown, which it wasn't as severe as it was in the second lockdown, and I managed to move just before the second lockdown hit. So I moved into a house where it was with somebody that I knew, and we had a good friendship, and the house had like a big space, like a nice garden to sort of spend time in. When I was living in Richmond before, it was like a tiny little place, and housemates weren't very nice, and it just felt very uncomfortable. So it was really good to have that change of energy. And have that space to move around, at least have that space when we were so confined to our homes, but yeah, it's great now that we can sort of get out and about again and start to see bands maybe. I know there's been a few gigs happening lately. I've been to one. Actually, I went to see Bones and Jones at the retreat the other day, and I got my camera out again for the first time, taking band shots, which was nice.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I still haven't sent you those ones of your gig, have I? Which you liked. I think you mentioned that.
The double exposures. Those were great. Yeah, those were so good, man. Yeah.
I'll have to dig them out for you.
Yeah. Could I get you just where the microphone is on your headphone cord? Would I be able to get you where my hand is, just to cover it from the wind? So if you put your hand,
like this.
So kind of like palm open, so it blocks the wind on one side, but so that you can still talk into it. Yeah, perfect.
Like this.
Yeah. Now it's blocking the wind noise.
Okay.
Are you still playing? So are you still playing with that double exposure style?
Well, I mean, that was like almost a complete accident, actually. What happened was, so I must have taken a roll of film, and funnily enough, it was in the same venue, but it was the Grace Cummings album launch, which was downstairs, and I took shots of that night, and then I think maybe you played a week later upstairs.
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens is I'll take a roll, and then I'll just take it out of the camera and change the roll, and then forget that that's been shot on.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to the shop, and I'll say, this, because a few things that have happened before with one of my cameras is that when I try and load it, sometimes it doesn't load properly, and then I'll try and wind it back, and then I'll wind it too far back, and then it will go back inside into the canister. So I'll have to go to the shop and then pull it out so I can reuse it.
Yeah.
And I must have thought that that's what happened. So then I put it back in the camera and shot all your photos on it. And it just happened to layer over it in a perfect kind of way.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty, but they looked amazing. I do remember thinking, I don't remember that other band that we've been blended with. Because I haven't seen the other band.
Yeah, well, and that's why I was a bit sort of dubious about using it, because it felt like who's who's really like, I mean, yeah, I can't. Who can use it really? Like it's like if you got someone else in the shot, it's like, well, is it your photo or is it their photo? I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a beautiful dilemma that you've created.
Yeah, it's nice for art purposes, I suppose. Like, but I mean, it wouldn't be very useful for promoting a band, I suppose. Like maybe unless you cut it up a little bit, but
Or
maybe collaged it.
what was that band called? The other band that you blended us with?
Grace Cummings, but there was a few others as well. Leah Senior played that night too, and I can't remember who else was on that lineup.
Well, I guess in order for us to be able to give those photos the light of day, maybe Grace Cummings and Charging Stallion need to co-headline a show that we can start using those photos.
It could happen, you know. You
yeah,
just put the word out there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What else?
You say I heard from another podcast you've done that you said that you're still doing work with Charging Stallion. How are you managing to coordinate that living in Perth now?
Yeah, well, the band stuff is definitely more paused. We recorded a new EP about 6 months ago, just before I moved here, actually. So we recorded 4 songs that we've been playing live but haven't recorded. And we just need those to be mixed and mastered. And so we'll have a release that we don't need to jump in the studio to do because we've done the recording.
Yeah.
And then the podcast itself, the plan is just to do it exactly how we're doing this right now. So just remotely. So Timmy and I were actually doing the Charging Stallion podcast remotely, probably for 3 of the last episodes. I think the very last episode before I moved, we did it face to face, but the 3 before that, because of Melbourne lockdown, we weren't allowed to be at each other's houses. So we just did it over the phone, actually less techie than this. We weren't on Zoom and couldn't see each other. We just had a phone up to one ear and then our good microphones up to our mouths, and then I would blend the audio later. So it was kind of a complex way of doing it. But yeah, the good thing about the podcast is it can be done like this. And then music-wise, it's just about us releasing those new songs.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's
man.
good. It's a good thing that you're doing is still keeping some like momentum with everything, and keeping in touch with everything that's going on, which is I think that's really cool.
Yeah, thanks, man. It feels good to be doing things regularly. Just doing this, even this solo show, just where I chat to people with no real premise, feels good. Like it almost feels like my version of the gym, because I don't like real gyms, but I like regularly using the skills that I have. So it feels healthy for me.
The mental gym, the mental workout.
Exactly. How about yourself with music? Are you writing at the moment?
Writing drums.
Writing rhythms?
I do have a drum kit in the house. It's one of those things though, when you've got something that's so close to you, you kind of, it's weird. I find like I'm neglecting it more than I probably should, considering how close it is. It's literally in the room next to me, and I'm just, and it's the thing is, I'm a bit conscious about the noise. It's like it is really loud, and so I just don't want to piss off the neighbors off too much.
Is it an apartment or a house?
Sorry,
apartment or house?
Oh, it's a house. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's in a really quiet sort of area as well. Like I think there's quite a few elderly people around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, actually, I do think that my next neighbor is deaf, so that might be okay. If I angle it towards him.
Yeah.
Then he might not be too bothered by it.
Was he like that already, or because you moved in and started drumming?
I think he's quite elderly, and I think maybe my housemate had mentioned that he might be a bit hard of hearing. So
yeah,
but he'll definitely be harder of hearing now.
Yeah, man.
Just finish the job off for him.
Yeah. And what's on for the Christmas holidays? Have you got holidays? What's the plan? You feel like you've got some space and time to recharge from everything you've got?
Yeah, well, actually, so last year my mum flew over from England, and her sister lives in Perth, and I was over there last year.
Oh yeah.
But this year, all of my friends pretty much are going away, and I was actually going to go up the coast too, and but now like Sydney things happened,
Mm.
it's kind of confirmed it's not going to happen for me now. So I'm not going to be flying to Sydney and then going off from there. But I did see there was this a random Instagram story that I picked up on, which was like somebody that I follow, which is a friend of we have mutual friends. I'm not sure exactly why I'm following them, but I think I saw something creative once and I just sort of liked it, and I guess from then on I've just started following them.
Yeah.
But they did a post where they were saying they're hosting a Christmas brunch, and anybody who feels like coming along, there'll be a seat for them at the table. So I just responded and said, can I come?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I don't know them, and I don't know anybody that's going to be there, but I feel like that's kind of exciting as well. It's like it's nice to do these random things, spontaneous things sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a nice place. It's in Warrandyte, and so I know there's a nice river there that you can go and swim in. So if it's a nice day, which it should be, it would be good to have a dip as well whilst I'm out there. Yeah, something different.
Yeah, man. I love that. Yeah, I was kind of weighing up trying to come to Melbourne for a few days over Christmas. But I just feel like even though it wasn't, the most recent outbreak wasn't Melbourne, it was Sydney. I just don't want to get stuck in any city and then have to work remotely. Like, I just feel like it's safer to let things settle for a little longer. So I'm just going to be in Perth. One of my colleagues has invited me along to have Christmas with her and her husband and their kid. So I'll probably do that at some point. But yeah, aside from that, I'll just be on Zoom calls and chilling with my cat.
Yeah, jump on your scooter, have a little whiz around.
Exactly. I managed to get myself a Christmas tree. I was hunting for Christmas trees and there were basically none in Perth. Ran Kmart, went to Target. Target basically didn't have anything Christmas themed at all, but I managed to find a Christmas tree that's maybe about a foot high. It's rubber and it looks like it's covered in snow. So I've got something. It's
a rubber Christmas tree. It's a Christmas tree.
Well, they did ID me and walked in at midnight, but I assume it's a Christmas. Yeah, so I've got
that. Was it from the adult shop by any chance?
You know it. So I'm going to give myself a couple of gifts, put some presents underneath it, some tiny little presents.
Christmas butt plug.
Yeah. And I guess his 10% battery just died. But what better way to finish and what better way to say goodbye than on the phrase Christmas butt plug. So thank you for joining me, Charlie. Send me a message. My Instagram is camreed.normalday. And I have a website where I've been a little bit lazy, but there's some stuff on there, like a couple of short films that I've acted in and a couple of things that I've written and directed. It's heyitscam.com. But yeah, come be on an episode, or if you're like, well, I can't really be bothered being on an episode, but I know somebody who can be bothered. Tell them first. Don't just send me their number so that I'm springing an interview on them. Hit them up, say, hey, you interested in this? And they can take it from there. They can message me. Trying to think if there's anyone I don't want you to send that to. No. Well, there probably is. But I'll do the screening when I'm not actually on the show. So if you send me something like, hey, here's an ex from 10 years ago, I'll be like, and then just never podcast again. No, I will just not have my ex on the show. Thanks for the offer, but I'd rather you came on the show so that I could talk you through why that was a bad idea.